Well, hey, welcome to Liverpool One Church online again.
Yes,
Another Sunday.
Another
Come on.
Sunday. Welcome,
Let's go.
guys. And if it's your first time joining us today online, then a massive warm welcome. Here at Liverpool One Church, we are about everyone. So that means whoever you are, wherever you're tuning in from, you are welcome with us today. And we are so glad that you've joined us.
So good. And hey, let us know where you're from. Drop it in the chat right now. We have an amazing online welcome team that would just love to connect with you. It would be our honor as well. But maybe you could even go as far as sharing the link with someone you know in your world. Encourage them with a great Sunday experience this week. It would be great, right?
Yeah, and we've had so many stories coming in of people who have shared the link, and then other people have joined in with church. So if that is you and you're new, then we can't wait to eventually see you face to face, because that day will come.
Yeah, so good. And hey, this week's been great. Let us know what you've been up to on Valentine's Day, right? What have you guys done? Because we've been stuck for ideas, haven't we?
We were. We tried to go for a picnic. It's too cold.
Bit cold. I'm not sure.
But some of you romantics out there, I'm sure you got creative what we could do in lockdown anyway.
Right, for sure.
But church, sit back, relax, because today we've got Dave bringing the word.
Come
we
on.
are super excited. It's going to be an awesome service. So welcome to Liverpool One Church.
Hey Liverpool One! Welcome to our online service. It's so great to have you. But we're going to worship when you join us.
When night is falling, where fear is calling, still you're calling me. Where faith is lost, my hope exhausted, you will be my strength. When my mind says I'm not good enough, God, you're enough for me. I've decided I'm not giving up. You won't give up on me. You won't give up on me. Your love is holding on and it won't let go. I feel it breaking out like an echo. Your love is holding on and it won't let go. I feel it breaking out like an echo, echo in my soul. Season, you keep repeating promises to me. Whoa, now there's no stopping what you have started till it is complete. When my mind says I'm not good enough, God, you're enough for me. I've decided I'm not giving up. You won't give up on me. You won't give up on me. Your love is holding on and it won't let go. I feel it breaking out like an echo. Your love is holding on and it won't let go. I feel it breaking out like an echo, echo in my soul. Decided I'm not giving up. You won't give up on me. You won't give up on me. Your love is holding on and it won't let go. I feel it breaking out like an echo. Hey, your love is holding on and it won't let go. I feel it breaking out, breaking out. Your love is holding on and it won't let go. I feel it breaking out like an echo. Your love is holding on and it won't let go. I feel it breaking out like an echo, echo in my soul. your name. Oh yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Oh yes, I will. Yes, I will. We're gonna sing that together again, church. I can run one thing. The same God who never fails will not fail me now. You won't fail me now. In the waiting, the same God who's never late is working all things out. He's working all things out. Oh yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Oh yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Oh yes, I will for all my days. Oh yes, I will, 'cause I choose to praise, to glorify, glorify the name of all names. And nothing can stand against. I choose to praise, to glorify, glorify the name of all names. And nothing can stand against, 'cause I choose to praise, to glorify, glorify the name of all names. And nothing can stand against, 'cause I choose to praise, to glorify, glorify the name of all names. And nothing can stand against. Oh yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Oh yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Oh yes, I will for all my days. Oh yes, I will for all my days. Oh yes, I will worship you.
Thank you, worship team. You guys are super, super hot today. Hey, it's so great to have all of you joining with us again for online church. We're so happy that every single one of you get to be a part of this, and it's really my privilege that I get to talk to you all just today. You know, we're in a series in church at the moment simply called Normal is Overrated. And we've been looking at ways how in our day-to-day lives, how our normal, yours and mine, doesn't necessarily have to be the same as everybody else's. We're looking at ways of how our decision-making process, yours and mine, doesn't have to be the norm. And how maybe if it's possible that we could find a new normal that we could live in, not in the pandemic sort of way, but just a new normal that we may be able to actually benefit where sometimes we otherwise might fail. And let me just say this, just before I really get going today, this message today, this talk is really massively practical. It's really something that wherever you are and whoever you are and wherever you're listening to this from and whatever stage of life you might find yourself in, this is something that you will be able to take and use and apply practically to your life today, which is really what we like to talk about, stuff that you can actually apply to your life at church. So, hey, let's just get into this today. You know, way back at the beginning of lockdown number 1 in March 2020, when none of us were really very sure as to how long this whole thing was gonna spill out for and what the effects on all of our lives would actually be. You'll all remember that when all the panic buying was going on in the shops, maybe some of us weren't even too sure as to whether or not we'd be even able to buy food for very much longer. And then there was things put into place like per person limits were on certain items that were more popular than others, like toilet paper, which all of a sudden overnight became more popular than gold bullion. And you'll all remember that hand sanitizer was one of the things that vanished online. It vanished from the shelves of the shops. It disappeared from everywhere, and you couldn't buy hand sanitizer for love nor money. It had gone 10 times its normal price on eBay. People were making an absolute fortune, and suppliers of hand sanitizer started to ship it directly to hospitals because that's the right thing to do to help out with everything that was going on. Well, I decided as a hunter-gatherer, as a man who brings supplies and income and good things to my family, I decided that I was going to go on the hunt for some hand sanitizer and hopefully try and find myself something that someone else had missed. So I scrolled through the internet, countless pages, and I went to every supermarket to try and just find anything that someone else had missed. And after almost scrolling, eventually, one day on an internet website, I managed to find not just a bottle of hand sanitizer, but the bottle of hand sanitizer that was gonna see me through the entire pandemic. No matter how long this whole thing goes on for, this thing was huge. It was a great big bottle with a pump lid on the top. I was so happy. This was a seriously swanky bottle of hand sanitizer with bells on. This was the cream of the crop, not just for me and my family, but for our whole side of the street. This thing was sound. So I fired in my details, and I was the website said it'd be with me in 5 to 7 days, and I was well, that just works perfectly. So I bought it, and I waited. A week came and a week went, no sanitizer. 2 weeks came and 2 weeks went, no sanitizer. So I emailed them and I said, hey, where's my order? And they were it's in transit. So I was excited, I hung on. A month came and a month went. So I emailed them and I said, hey, I emailed you 2 weeks ago. Hey, where's my sanitizer? They said, yeah, it's still in transit. So I said, okay, fine. So I waited. 2 months came and 2 months went. And I emailed them again and said, this is ridiculous. Give me my money back. They said, not possible. You're gonna have to hang on until it arrives, and then you get the option to send it back. So I was well, this is just getting a bit crazy. 3 months came and 3 months went. I mean, we are so far, we're in the summer now, and the thing still hasn't arrived. It started to actually filter back into the shops, and this thing has become more of a matter of principle to me than any other thing. All I want is my sanitizer. 4 months later, 4 months, and this mythical box arrives through the post that's been quarantined more times in itself than any other individual that I know. This thing finally lands. And after all my waiting, I was yes, I've finally got my sanitizer, this thing that's gonna see us through to the end of the pandemic, no matter how long it all goes on for. I opened the box and I couldn't believe what I saw. I looked in the box and I knew it was the thing because it had all the pictures all over it. And I looked inside and I pulled out my bottle of sanitizer. You wanna see what they sent me? That's my bottle of sanitizer. And there's the pump on the top. It's not even proper sanitizer. It doesn't even have alcohol in it. This thing is useless. It's not even hand soap. It doesn't even have English writing on it. It's crazy. That's what they sent me. This was what I pinned all of my happiness to. This thing was supposed to fix a real problem for me, but all it actually did was become a huge letdown after all that time. It was supposed to make me so happy. But I bet I'm not the only one to have done that. Maybe I'm with sanitizer, granted, and you've got that. But I bet I'm not the only one to have bought something that was supposed to be great, or bought something that was supposed to fix a real problem, and it ended up not being as great as what I thought it was. Sometimes I almost seem to attach my happiness to stuff. But I bet that we all do that, don't we? I mean, especially in this season right now, we attach our happiness to things. We attach our happiness to our surroundings, to our stuff, to things in our world. but they always let us down. We expect all the time, because we get told all the time, that things will make us happy, that things will bring us joy. But what we find is, our happiness, we're told, is all about the what that we have. We're always told it's about a thing. We always see adverts on the TV and social media with the latest device or the latest phone or the latest this or the latest that we'll be happy, we'll be more complete, that our lives will be better, that somehow things are going to work out better for us if we get the latest thing. Because all the adverts make it about the what that we have. We see adverts on the TV like Toyota telling us to drive happy. Like, in other words, don't drive unhappy in your old beat-up car. Buy one of these, it'll be better. Or Gillette, the best a man can get. Why would you want anything less than the best? You want the best? This is it. Everything else, rubbish. Buy this. Or even the best one, Coca-Cola. Tell us to open happiness. Like, are you sad? Drink a Coca-Cola. It'll make you happy. If not, it'll rot your teeth. But either way, you get something out of it. Everyone knows the term retail therapy as well, don't you? How spending your money on stuff is therapy to us. Like, when you go and buy stuff and spend all your money on stuff, that's somehow supposed to be therapy to us. But it doesn't really look like that, because we're told all the time our happiness and our joy is about the what that we have. Think about the time when maybe you went to the showroom to buy a new car, and you'd already pre-agreed a limit in your head that you were going to spend before you went to the showroom. But by the time you got in there and you'd had a test drive in the top of the range model, the extra price increase, to be honest with you, didn't really seem like that much per month. And you thought, you know, I work hard and my family deserve this. So you signed the piece of paper and you bought the car. And fast forward the clock a short while, and you're now 6 months in, and you've picked up a little scratch on the bumper, a little dent in the back, and there's a dent in the door, and maybe there's some mud in the boot, and the kids have dropped something on the back seat, and the car really doesn't excite you very much anymore because it's not your new thing. But what you're left with is a bill that really doesn't excite you at all, and you find that the happiness it brought you was practically, you know, it doesn't really last. It was practically pointless when you look at the monthly bill and the monthly expenditure. So now you move on to something else. Or perhaps your thing is a holiday. Anyone remember them? Remember what a holiday was? I certainly don't. But you know, like when you scroll through the internet and you look for the holiday deals and you're finding, because you just want a break and you want to get away and you want to make you and your family so happy and the holiday's got to be fantastic, and then you find the hotel and it's on the beach, and it's got the swim-up bar in the pool, and it's right there, right on the front of the strip, and you can like dangle your feet in the sea, and it's gonna be incredible. So you just go, we don't really have the money, but we can make this happen. We can borrow the money. So you do just that. You bang it on the credit card, you fire your details in, and then you wait. The holiday approaches, and you're so excited, you can't wait. Then you go, and it's just as good as what you thought. The sun's shining, the birds are singing, the sky's blue, the sea's amazing, the swim-up bar's fantastic, and it's incredible. You come home, you go back to work, 2 weeks later, your credit card bill lands, the excitement that your holiday brought you has gone, now you're left with a bill, and it's big, and you're like, so I'm not excited about the holiday, I've got my bill, I'm a bit unhappy, the excitement's all gone, the fun's all gone, doesn't make me happy anymore. And you find that the happiness that you had was fleeting, so you move on to the next thing. Or perhaps your happiness in your life just comes from you being financially secure. And you go, in my life, in my business life, I am financially secure, and that's what gives me happiness. But this season has been crippling for you, because everything that you put into the business that you wanted to start, or the idea that you wanted to see going, like before the pandemic, the graph was lower left to upper right. Everything was climbing, the customers were coming in, the repeat orders were happening, and you felt great about your life. But then this all happened, and everything just started to go wrong. And all the reserves that you have had to go in to actually support things and keep things going. But that's all gone. And what you found is, now your resources gone. Now your financial security's gone. So's your happiness. So's your joy. It's all vanished. And I bet we've all done this, haven't we? I bet we've all made our happiness somewhere along the line about stuff. Because we're all the same, aren't we? Like in life, everybody just wants to be happy. No one intentionally chooses a life that they know is gonna make them unhappy. But I think the issue is, the more we look, the more we buy, and the more we buy, the more we find out that our happiness isn't in stuff, because we're told it's in a thing. We're told it's in an object. We're told it's in a place. We're told it's in a substance. But when we do all of those things, what we find, it doesn't take long for us to realize that it isn't, and that's not the way it rolls in real life. There's so many people and so many companies who are willing to tell us how to get happy. There's so many things out there that with this device or that device, as we've said, that they are so willing to tell you that these things will make you happy. But often, what we actually find in reality is that it's quick fix happiness, and it doesn't really last. Look at it this way. When you got your new phone, you were as excited about that as when you got your old phone, when your old phone was new. But your new phone got old, and your old phone got old, and then you were excited about that, so you had to get the new phone. And you're excited about it. Now you've got your new phone, but your new phone will get old. And all the time, the phone company is going on to you about how incredible the latest new phone is, because it's always the newest phone that's going to make you the happiest. And what we do is we make our happiness about stuff. But think of it this way. If your aging stuff doesn't make you happy, you were never really happy to begin with. Think about it. At the end of your life, none of your regrets when you're on your deathbed, morbid moment, at the end of your life, none of your regrets about your life will ever be about your possessions. Think about it, girls. You wouldn't lie there at the end of your life and ask someone to nip back to your house because I just need a few moments alone with my shoes. If someone could just go and get me my shoes, I would just love to be surrounded by all of my shoes just one last time before my life ends. Or lads, you wouldn't ask that the nurse just wheel you into the car park because you want a few moments alone with your car. You just really have to see my car one more time. Or get your collection of Star Wars figurines so you could spread them all out on the bed and just see them all one more time just before you pop off. It's like none of our regrets are ever going to be about our stuff. So if our happiness and our joy in life is not attached to our stuff, then what I want to know and what I want to look at in the next few minutes is how do we keep our joy? Like, how do we keep our happiness, especially in a season like we're in right now? Because we all want to be happy, don't we? We all want to live a life that's filled with happiness. But if our joy isn't based on the stuff in our lives and the stuff that we have, then I want to know what it's based on, because that's where we're always told that it is. And I'm not talking about good days and bad days. Like, do I have bad days? Absolutely. And I also have good days as well. But what I'm talking about is that deep-rooted happiness, that deep joy, deep in your soul, right inside, that comes from God, that will carry you through times when you otherwise struggle. That's the joy that I'm talking about. That's the thing that will carry you through some of life's hardest times. Now, there is one thing, and it's not a physical possession, and there's one thing that you'll always find that someone who is happy will have. Someone who's happy and someone who has joy always has peace. On the inside, they're fine. On the inside, they're good. They always have peace. People who are happy are just at peace with themselves. They're at peace. They could be introvert or extrovert. They could be rich or poor. They could have a lot of stuff. They might not have very much. They are just at peace with themselves. It doesn't really matter. They're never straining to be something that they're not, or trying to be something that they're not, or they're just at peace with themselves. And another thing you'll find with people who are happy, people who have joy, is that they're at peace with other people. They're not always warring with other people. You'll generally find that even if someone has offended them and done something wrong by them and they're telling you about what's gone on and you go, are you crazy? Like, that would seriously drive me mad. I can't believe that you're not after revenge on them. But they're not. They just go, well, I just kind of forgave and moved on. You're like, really? That would drive me over the edge. They're not like trying to get even with people. They're just at peace with other people. And lastly, with some happy people, and I wouldn't argue all happy people, but definitely with some, they're at peace with God as well. They just have a sense in their life that somehow it doesn't really matter, because they don't have to go and strive after justice for every single thing in life, because they have a confidence in God that carries them through where other people struggle. So if that's the case, and if they're at peace, then we have to see that whatever removes our peace also removes our joy. The two have to be linked. And that's the same for every single one of us. If I gave everyone just a moment in time just to have a think about a situation in your life, a circumstance in your life, or something that's gone on through your life, maybe a relationship you were in, or maybe a situation or a circumstance that happened to you, and it either removed your peace with yourself, it removed your peace with other people, or it undermined your peace with God, and it's a regret, and you had the chance to go back and do it over, you absolutely would, because it's a regret. And the longer you go through your life, the more you will remove your joy. The more that particular thing will remove your joy, because it's a regret. It will remove your happiness. It's like this with anything that undermines our peace. So if you're going to make a decision about something and you feel inside like, I just don't know. I just don't know what to do. Then it's very possible that you're in the process of making a decision that might undermine your own peace and remove your peace. And because of that, your happiness and your joy. Because happy people are at peace with themselves, they're at peace with others, and largely they're at peace with God. Now, Jesus understood this. He knew how to preserve his peace. He knew how to preserve his joy and his happiness. But Jesus was obviously, as we know, one of the most interrupted people ever in life. And whenever he was walking from place to place, he would get stopped by all sorts of strangers. He would get asked questions. And largely the questions were trying to trap him or trick him or catch him out and expose him as a fraud. Largely the questions were just trying to sort of derail him a little bit. And a lot of the time they were like that, but some of the time they weren't. And this one occasion that I just want to have a very brief look at today was Jesus was asked a very important question by a lawyer. And Jesus' answer basically says exactly what it is that we've been talking about. So one day this lawyer comes to him and Jesus basically just comes right up to him and he says, Jesus, which of our Jewish laws, because we have a lot of Jewish laws, which of them do you think is God's favorite? Like, which one of these laws, which one of these rules is the most important? Which is the most important commandment? Now, obviously, this guy had an idea in his head of what he thought that the answer was to the question. But he wanted to know what Jesus thought. So here's how the conversation went. Matthew 22. Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law? Like, which one's most important? And just before I carry on, I think it's worthwhile mentioning that generally speaking, you and I would think that laws and commandments aren't something that's related to happiness. Generally speaking, you and I would probably assume that laws and commandments are something which gets in the way of our joy and our happiness. But Jesus says something. When we hear Jesus' answer to that question, he says something about joy and happiness. When he's asked that question, he says something which we really can't afford to miss, because I feel like his answer so addresses what we're talking about. When he's asked which is the most important commandment, his answer addresses exactly what we're talking about. Now, I don't know about you, but I would have expected that his answer about the most important commandment was going to be, well, don't do this, or always do that, or you better not do the other. Like, I would have thought that it would have been something along the lines of, well, don't steal, or don't lie, or don't cheat, or don't yada, yada. Don't do any one of these things. There's so many he could have chosen from. So Jesus, this guy said, which one do you think is most important, and which one do you think that God thinks is most important? And let's just hear Jesus' answer through the filter of what we've already said about happiness. Jesus replied, love. He'd have been like, whoa, hang on, Jesus, wait there. I'm after commandments. I'm after like a thou shalt or a thou shalt not or a do or a don't. I'm after that kind of thing. Jesus goes, yeah, I got it. Love. He's like, no, Jesus, no, you've misunderstood the question. I want the favorite commandment. I want the most important commandment, like do's, don'ts, thou shalt not. That's what I'm after here. What's the favorite one? Jesus is like, love. He's like, okay, Jesus, hang on. The thing is, love isn't a very commandy type word. Love is surely a very relational type word. Commands, come on, your favorite one. Jesus like, yeah, I got the question, I understood it. Here's my answer. Jesus replies, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. Which I agree, doesn't sound very commandy, does it? It's like Jesus says, you want to know what's most important? I'll tell you what's most important. What's most important is about peace with God. That's what's most important. But then, as you'll probably know, if you've read the next verse, Jesus doesn't stop there. He carries on. And he brings the other two parts of our happiness conversation into his answer. He says, this is the first and greatest commandment, and the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. So what Jesus is saying here is, the second part of it and the first part of it kind of go together. They're equal. It's a two-part deal. You can't have one without having the other. And he then says, you've got to love your neighbor as you love yourself. He's saying you've got to love others. In other words, when this expert in the law comes to Jesus and asks him, what's the most important commandment? Jesus says something so important that we really have to sit up and pay attention. He says, what's most important to me is peace with God, peace with others, and peace with yourself. So here's this guy asking Jesus what the most important commandment is, and it must have absolutely blown him away. He says, what's most important? What's most important is love God, make peace with God, love your neighbor, be at peace with your neighbor, love yourself, make peace with yourself. Which sounds a lot like Jesus says we ought to be happy, doesn't he? That's right. That's at the center of who God made you. It's at the center of who God says you are. And it's right in the center of his will for your life. So if we want to be happy and we want to keep our joy, then it's about peace with God, peace with other people, and peace with yourself. And you could say, yeah, I get it. Like, I understand it. But I'm not peaceful. Like, I struggle in my head. I can't get my head around certain things, and I would love to be peaceful. I'd love to be happy. I'd love to be joyful. But I'm not. And it starts, as we've already seen, with loving God first. Loving him most. Loving him completely. And you'd say, well, like, what does that even look like? Jesus said the most important thing, we've read it, the most important thing in keeping our peace is love the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, and your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. It means making him your number one. Nothing else comes before him. Nothing else takes his place as your number one. You want to know what's number one in your life? Look at your bank balance. Your money goes where your heart goes. You want to know what's number one in your life? Look at your time. Your days go where your heart goes. You want to look at what's number one in your life? Look at your internet history. Your mind goes where your heart goes. Nothing else can take God's place as your number one. And what he's saying is, you want to know what's most important to me? You want to know where it all starts? It all starts with being at peace and loving God first. You know, when I was a baby, in fact, all the way through my life, my dad loved Christmas. He was like a Christmas nut. He loved it. The bigger the tree, the better the Christmas, as we all well know. Well, our Christmas tree on occasion, when I was younger, didn't quite reach the ceiling, and that is the benchmark of a decent Christmas tree in our house. So my mum and dad used to have a small coffee table that they used to put the Christmas tree on top of if it didn't quite make the grade or didn't quite make the cut one year. Well, this one particular year, the tree didn't quite reach the ceiling, even off the coffee table. So we had in our house, don't ask me where it came from, a very, very big, very old, very thick Bible. And this particular year, the tree just didn't make the grade. So you had a coffee table, then you had this big Bible, and then you had our Christmas tree. And the whole thing got decorated and it all got finished off and it was fantastic. About 3 or 4 hours later, there was an enormous crash from the living room and the Christmas tree had come down and all the lights had gone everywhere and all the ornaments had gone everywhere and everything had just come off it. It was just all over the floor. And my mum and dad thought that it was God who brought the Christmas tree down because they had elevated Christmas over God in their life, replacing him as the number one because they'd put the Christmas tree on top of the Bible. It goes without saying, they were very holy people, my parents. I'd say it's the sinful amount of tinsel that the thing was draped with that brought the thing down, but that is a conversation for a completely different time. But you know, when you make something your number one in life, God made you and he made me and he made us all the same. And when you make something number one in your life over God, you aren't going to be able to find peace. You aren't going to be able to find joy. And you're not going to find happiness because something else has replaced what he designed you to have as your number one thing in your life, which is him. So how do we love God first? Like, how do we do that? Well, you talk to the ones you love. Talk to him through your day. Have regular communication with him. He loves to hear your voice when you pray. He loves it when you worship him, even really badly in the Mersey Tunnel when no one else is there. He loves it when you just sit with him and you just say thank you for something great that's happened in your day that day. He just wants to have communication with you throughout your day. I heard somebody once say, never pray for more than 5 minutes, but never go for more than 5 minutes without praying. That's what you do with God. You just stay in regular communication with him. Simply put, love him first. We also need to love our neighbor as ourselves. That's what we're told to do in the very next line. And you might go, well, that's easy for me. I love my neighbors. My neighbors are great. They help me with the bins and the grass and that. I mean, they're awesome. Like, I get on with them. But Jesus is not just talking about our actual neighbors or our actual friends or those people in life who it's really easy for us to get on with. He's talking even about the people who you don't find it that easy to get on with. Are you ready to love them as you love yourself? Like we mentioned before, what if somebody's really done something to you and really offended you? Are you willing to love them as much as you love you? Really? Because sometimes I feel like I can't do that. I feel like I fall short on so much of this stuff, but you have to ask yourself, if that's where peace comes from and that's what God says, are you ready to love someone else as you love yourself, even if they've been bad to you, even if they've wronged you? And what does it look like anyway? Like, does it look like, yeah, I can love them. Yeah, no worries, I can do that through gritted teeth, or like when no one else is looking, just quietly in your head. But he's not requiring that kind of love. Like, you can love someone else in a whole host of different ways. You could go and offer to pick their kids up from school if you know they're struggling with something and just take them back to your house for tea and just take that burden away, maybe just for one evening. You could even drop some food off at their house, even if it means forgetting about the plans that you had for your evening, if it means you're cooking a lasagna or baking something in the oven and then just dropping it off and going, hey, I just want you to know, I think you're awesome. You can love them like that. If you find out they've got a financial need, you might be able to just put a financial offering their way, a little financial gift, and just go, hey, just so you know, I'm thinking about you. I think you're awesome. Or it might just be something practical, something else. But the bottom line is, if we're going to have peace and we're going to keep our joy and keep our happiness, then God says we need to love others as we love ourselves. Remember, Jesus died so that you can have life and life to the full. But Jesus also died for them so that they can have life and life to the full. And we need to remember and treat other people as somebody who else that Jesus actually died for. He died for you and he also died for them. So they're owed that much. We have to treat others as we would treat ourselves. That's what Jesus is saying will bring us peace. And happy people are at peace with others. And the last thing we need to do, if we're going to keep our happiness and our joy, is we need to learn to love you. Like, you've got to love you. And I get it. Depending on the situation of your life, depending on your circumstances, that might be really, really tough. Because if you're honest, like, I don't know what you've been through. And I don't know what's brought you to this point in your life. Maybe the abuse, maybe the mistrust, maybe the issues that people have damaged you. Like, I don't know what it is that you're struggling with, but you need to love you. The thing is, God made you in his image. You're made in the image of God, and the one who knit you together in your mother's womb before you were born loves you dearly. He loves you even on your worst day. He would always choose you. When you've written you off, he still loves you. So at least maybe today, you can just start by knowing that one thing, that even if you've written yourself off today, there's someone who's never gonna write you off, never gonna let you down, never gonna undermine anything or let you down in any way, because he loves you more than you can possibly fathom. You know, I loved what Emma spoke about last week, and she spoke about heart vibrations. She spoke on Valentine's Day on heart vibrations. I'm telling you now, if you've missed last week's message, jump on YouTube, turn this off right now and jump on YouTube and watch last week's and then come back to this, because last week's is awesome and you'll understand what I'm about to say. But she talked about how the heart had vibration patterns, not just the heartbeat, but it has a frequency, it has a vibration pattern. And the higher the amount of love that a person receives, the higher the amount of vibration. And the heart vibration, the higher it gets even higher when a person knows that they are loved unconditionally. Well, I can tell you that people who have unconditional love have a higher heart vibration pattern than all the other heart vibration patterns. And today, I get to tell you that God loves you unconditionally. He loves you so much, you can't even work it out. So even if you don't love you today, you need to know that God loves you unconditionally. And I understand that it might be hard for you to love you. It might be hard for you to love yourself based on what you've been through. But that's where his power shows up most, when we are weak. His power always shows up most when we're weak. And if you say to God, God, I want to do this, you just need to talk to him. I want to do this, but I can't really do this. And I don't have the strength for this one. I don't have the power for this one. I've got to rely on you. And you've got to help me because I just can't do this by myself. He will show up and he will help you because that's what he does, because he loves you. You know, it might be something that you just need to speak to him about and pray with him about, and a journey that you need to walk through with him. But if you want to keep your joy and if you want to keep your happiness, then it all hinges on being at peace with you. The only place we'll find our peace, and the only place we'll find our joy, and the only place we'll find our happiness is by living in relationship with Jesus. So it all depends on what you really want in your life. Like, it depends on how much you want, what you say you want. Do you want happiness like today? Do you want your joy back in this season? Then I can tell you, it's all found in him. You can have whatever you want by living in relationship with him. And here's the key. Happy people have peace, and peace is found, that's right, in relationship with God. Not by buying things, not by dating that person, not by going to that place, not by looking at those images, not by any other thing in life. Happiness is found through peace, and peace comes from God. And you can have it. The great news is you can have it today by asking him truly and sincerely to come and live in relationship with you. The joy of God is yours for the taking, and the offer is on the table. And today, you just need to ask. You know, church, time's gone for today, but I would love the honor of just praying with you, and then the band are going to come. We're just going to sing some more. So let's just, maybe wherever you are in your homes, let's just pray. Let me just pray for you. Heavenly Father, God, I thank you, Lord, for every single person who is tuned in and listening to this message, God. I don't know who they are, but God, today you see them, you know them, you made them, you fashioned them, and you know where they're weak. God, well, I pray, Lord, that those who are seeking happiness, those who are seeking joy, those who just want to find some peace in their life, maybe in this season of life that we're in, God, I pray that you meet them. God, I pray that you meet them where they need you. God, I pray you'll give them the courage to ask you for help. Lord, I pray that as they come and seek you, that you will be found by them, and that we will see and we will hear in future years of some significant breakthroughs that have come of the prayers of this moment. I know that there's some people, God, who are listening to this message right now who desperately want to be happy, who desperately want to have your joy, God. And I pray that, Lord, as they come and seek you, that you will be found by them, and there'll be some real transformation in the name of Jesus. And everyone said, wherever you are in the world watching this, amen. Church, it's been my honor to speak to you today. We're just going to worship one more time.
Jesus bled and died for me. I see his wounds, his hands, his feet. My Savior on that cursed tree. His body bound and drenched in tears. They laid him down in Joseph's tomb, the entrance sealed by heavy stone. Messiah still and all alone. Oh, praise the name of the Lord. Praise his name forevermore. For endless days we will sing your praise, oh Lord our God. Then on the third, at break of dawn, the Son of trample death, where is your sting? The angels roar for Christ the King. Oh, praise the name of the Lord our God. Oh, blazing sun shall pierce the night, and I will rise among the saints, my gaze transfixed on Jesus' feet, on Jesus' feet.
Church, what an amazing message. Thank you so much, Dave. You know, in this season, it's so easy to feel like we've lost our joy, lost our peace. But hey, if we apply them 3 points to love God first, to love others, and love ourselves, then we can experience true joy and peace in this season, no matter what's happening on in the world. I love that. Thank you, Dave.
So good. Hey, let's show Dave some love right now in the chat. That would be awesome. But hey, I can think of no better way than to love God and to love others than giving. And right now we have the opportunity together to partner right now, and you can give right now. There's different ways on the screen below me right now that you can do that. But listen, we are a generous church, and we want to be generous to other people around the corner and around the world. And hey, we do that with you guys. Thank you so much just for your partnership with us. We really appreciate your giving financially into this house.
Yeah.
You get to sow a seed that will go so much further than ever before. And hey, right now you have the opportunity to do that. We just want to say a massive, heartfelt thank you from the bottom of our hearts here at Liverpool One Church, from everyone involved. We just want to say thanks. We appreciate your generosity.
Yeah. Well, church, what an amazing service we have had today. The word, the worship, it's been incredible.
So
we
good.
hope you've loved it. We hope you've had the best time tuning in today. But guys, we're going to see you again, same time, same place, in your living rooms, on the TV next Sunday at 10 a.m. So we'll see you there, church. Have a great week.